If you bought the DJI Pocket 3 and you're struggling to get cinematic footage out of it, then you've come to the right place. There's a ton of hype around the Pocket 3 since it came out. It's a tiny camera, but it's packed with a ton of features. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all the settings you have to change in this camera to get that great looking cinematic footage. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to have to do is turn the camera on, and you do so by rotating the LCD screen. The gimbal will unlock and the camera will turn on, and this is by default. Once you have the camera turned on, you want to swipe up from the bottom of the screen, and this is going to allow you to change your resolution settings and your frame rate. So turn your resolution all the way up to 4K, and that's going to be on the top here. Keep in mind that when you shoot in vertical mode, it does downscale to 3K. But there is a way to get around that, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. And on the bottom here is going to be your frame rate. Now, if you want to shoot cinematic style videos, then you want to shoot in 24 frames per second. My camera is in this mode about 99% of the time. Now, if you know that you want to slow your footage down in post, then I suggest you shoot in 60 frames per second. And to do that, all you have to do is swipe over to 60. My recommendation for you is stay in 24 frames per second most of the time. Now that we have our resolution and frame rate settings set up, we want to head over to the exposure tab. And to do that, it's really simple. Just swipe over from the right side of the screen to the left. By default, the camera comes in automatic exposure settings. Now what you want to do is change it to manual. All you do is click on the exposure tab, and from auto, change it to manual. In this screen, it's going to allow you to change your ISO and your shutter speed. So what you want to do here is change the ISO to 100. This is going to give you the cleanest possible image. Now, if you're going to be filming in various environments, and you're not going to really have time to keep going into the settings and messing with the ISO, then I suggest you use a variable ISO. And it's really easy to do. All you do is keep swiping down. I recommend staying between 50 and 800. Once you go over 800, it's going to introduce quite a bit of noise into the image, and you really want to try to stay away from that. Next up, let's talk about shutter speed. We're going to follow the 180-degree rule here. And all that means is you want to double your frame rate. So if you're shooting in 24 frames per second, double that. It really brings you to 48, but the camera doesn't have 1/48. So we're going to use 1/50, which is right here. Once you're done with that, click confirm. And now you have your exposure settings set up. Now keep in mind, if you're shooting slow-mo and you're in 60 frames per second, you want to double the 60 and shoot in 1/120. Doubling your frame rate will just give you the adequate amount of motion blur. All right, now that we have our exposure settings dialed in, we need to change our color profile. And to do that, it's really easy. In the same screen, swipe down a little bit, and where it says color, just click on it. It comes default in normal. Just click it again, keep clicking until you see D-Log M. In my opinion, changing the color profile is probably going to make the biggest difference in your image quality. The camera comes default in a normal color profile, which is only 8-bit. By changing the color profile to D-Log M, that gives us 10-bit, which now gives us access to a wider range of colors and a greater dynamic range. The only thing with this is your footage will be in a flat color profile, so it does require color grading. But don't worry, I've got you covered. So once you're done shooting and you import your footage into your computer to edit, you're going to first need to apply a conversion LUT, which DJI does have one for free on their website, and it works really well. I made a video on an easy color grade for the Osmo Pocket 3, which walks you through how to apply the conversion LUT and a simple, easy color grade. I'll put a card up here if you want to check that video out. I'll also leave a link down below to my free cinematic LUT for the Osmo Pocket 3. Yes, it's free. All right, with all that out of the way, now we need to change our white balance. And honestly, the automatic white balance does the job most of the time. It's really, really good. But if you're in a studio setting like this, where I know the color temperature of my lights, then go ahead and change your white balance. But to change your white balance, it's really easy. It's this first one on the right. You can keep it in auto white balance or change it to manual. And in manual, if you know the temperature you want to change it to, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just leave it in auto white balance. The last thing you want to change is your image adjustment, and that's right here. Change the sharpness to -2 and then noise reduction to -1. Straight out of camera, I think the footage comes out a little too sharp. So if you do this, it'll just be a little more cinematic, in my opinion. All right, so now that you have all of your settings changed, you're ready to go out and film some video. So now you're outside and you're filming some video and you're like, oh crap, my footage is way too bright. It's way overexposed. That's the thing. Now you need to get yourself some ND filters. ND filters are going to help you keep the proper shutter speed. It doesn't really matter which brand ND filters you go with. These right here are by Neewer, and I really like them. They come in this magnetic case. You get 3 different ND filters. So this comes with an ND 8, 16, and a 32. And my favorite, it comes with a black mist. They are stackable, so generally I'm filming with the ND 8 and I stack the black mist right on top of it. They work great. They're very reasonably priced. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check them out. The mist filter will just add like a little dreamy effect to it. I personally really like it. So that's pretty much all the settings you need to change in your Osmo Pocket 3 to get cinematic footage. The only thing is, if you did get this camera to vlog with, then there's one more thing you need to change, and that's this right here. So swipe down on the top right, the little person. Default, it comes off. What you want to do is turn it on. So with that enabled, what it's going to do is the gimbal is now going to track you. So the footage is going to come out so much smoother. Remember in the beginning of the video, I said when you turn it to vertical mode, it's going to downsize to 3K. Well, to get around that, all you have to do is kind of just hold the camera out and turn it on its side. Now film your vertical videos like this, and you're gonna have 4K resolution. So that's my little tip to film in 4K vertical mode. And that's it. Those are all the settings you're gonna need to change in your DJI Osmo Pocket 3 to get cinematic footage. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. This camera is great. It's small, lightweight, and super capable of getting that great footage. It's the camera that I'll be taking with me on all of my daily adventures. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.